Hello, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started with the webinar. Thank you so much for being here today. So today's webinar is going to be Zoho CRM and Zoho Campaigns. We're going to be talking about integrating these two apps together. If you are enjoying the webinar or you enjoy the webinar when it's completed, feel free to tweet your enjoyment or your happiness or pleasure, however you want to say that, on Twitter, hashtag Zoho Campaigns. I am Taylor Backman. I'm an evangelist here at Zoho. I'll be taking you through this today. You can tweet at me as well if you are a Twitterer at Taylor Backman. You can also email me. That's my email right there. I'll show you it again at the end of the presentation, taylor@zohocorp.com. And I'll be happy to talk to you afterwards about any questions you have with CRM or campaigns or maybe any other Zoho product. I'm not always the expert in everything, but I can definitely point you in the right direction most of the time. So please feel free to do that. In this webinar today, we're going to look a little at CRM and email marketing. I'm going to talk to you about some of the benefits of Zoho CRM and Zoho Campaigns, and then I'm going to do a demo and show you how to integrate these two applications. For all the questions that you may have today, you can ask them as you have them by typing them into the chat, and one of my colleagues should be on in just a second to help answer those. I'll also have some time at the end to answer your questions as well. Now, for the questions that are really effective to be asked and answered in this context, in this webinar, anything that is kind of related to like what I'm talking about or like what we're doing is always good. If you have questions that are really more specific to your business or your process, or how should I set this up, what would you recommend for all of this, usually it's best to email that to me because I can actually give you a better answer than one that's just kind of off the top of my head. And I also can make videos for you individually to show you some little things rather than point you to some crazy guide. So following up and emailing is very helpful, and I think it actually ends up benefiting you more. So if you have real complex, in-depth questions about business process stuff, I'm happy to help you there. If you have really technical questions on the email marketing side, anything that's really related to like spam and servers or anything else, you're going to want to direct that to the chat or to our support people, our wonderful support people, because they know way more about the details of this stuff than I do. So that is my little intro, I guess. Before we continue on, I just want to ask, can everybody hear me okay? If you can hear me, just raise your hand. Okay, cool. So we're seeing some hands. I'm seeing some names too as well. I recognize a few people from past webinars and people that I've emailed before. I'm going to check some questions real quick. So yeah, okay, cool. This webinar is also being recorded, so a recording of the webinar, please just write into the chat that you want a recording, and then I can provide you with one through after this is all over. But just write that into the chat. Yes, I'd like a webinar, and I can do that for you. Okay. So just 1 second. Have to just quickly do something. Okay. So let's go ahead and continue. So this is not going to be a very interactive webinar. It's really going to be me just showing you some stuff and talking to you. But I do have a few things for you at the beginning, a few little polls, just to get a sense of who is in the audience today. So I have some polls that I'm going to share with you that we can do very quickly. My first question is going to be maybe an obvious one. Is your business already using email marketing software? And if so, which? There's a few different options here: Zoho Campaigns, MailChimp, Constant Contact. Maybe you're not using any email marketing software. Maybe you're doing it all from within your CRM. I'll give you guys a few more seconds to answer that. This is just helpful because these questions just kind of give me a sense of who's out there, and then I can kind of tailor the presentation to you guys and the demo as much as possible to make it informative and helpful. Okay, so I'll go ahead and close this poll and share the results with you. So we got a pretty diverse group today. So almost half are not using any email marketing software, and then there's a break between Zoho Campaigns, MailChimp, Constant Contact, and then doing it from within our CRM. So that's good to know. We've got a wide range of folks. That's very, very, very helpful. Okay, and I'll do another one. Again, this might seem like very obvious questions, but still very helpful. You'd be amazed to find how much things vary week to week. So is your business already using a CRM system? If so, which? We got Zoho CRM, Salesforce, Dynamics, other. Maybe you're not using a CRM. If there's any software that you're using, email marketing or CRM, that is not listed, you can also let me know in the chat. I'm always interested to see what people are using. I know there's a lot of software out there, and we'll actually talk about that. All right, so I'll go ahead and close the poll in 3, 2, 1, okay, and I'll share the results with you. So no surprise, the overwhelming majority are using Zoho CRM. A few other people are using some other stuff, and then a few people are not using CRM as well. So that's not too bad. Again, usually Zoho CRM users are a heavier group here. Okay, that's really good to know. Thank you. And last but not least, did you attend the Getting Started with Zoho Campaigns webinar? That runs every other week. I usually do it. I believe my colleague Praveen did it last week because I was out of town. And I'll give you just a few more seconds on that. Going once, twice, and we're done. Okay, share the results. So, huge majority of you did not, and that's okay. For those of you who did not, if you'd like just kind of basic information on, how to create a campaign and, kind of how to move around within the app, how to import contacts, that kind of stuff, you can join that webinar. If you'd also like a recording of that webinar rather than having to attend it, you can let me know in the chat. Just specify that you would like the Getting Started webinar, and again, I can send that to you as well. For those of you who did attend, thank you. I hope it's been helpful to you, and we'll be able to kind of move into the next step, which is integrating with CRM. So again, thank you very much, and I appreciate all of you answering all of my questions. It's very, very helpful, and hopefully it pays off for you today. Okay, so we did the polls. Let's move forward. So, and I'll just talk a little bit, just kind of give you a little overview or context before we join the demo, just kind of talking about CRM and email marketing and Zoho Campaigns and Zoho CRM. So if you are using a CRM, you know this stuff. If you're not using a CRM, it's worth considering. CRM, I think, is really the heart of a business, as it allows you to keep all of your customer data in one place. It gives you a complete 360-degree view of your customer, and then you are able to standardize and track your sales activity, funnel, and ultimately close more deals in less time by just actually having a really strong process in place, by automating repetitive tasks that are taking up your salespeople's time. So CRMs are super, super important. Now, when we start thinking about talking to our customers, because ultimately our CRM is this database, it's this central place with all of our customer information, we want to be able to communicate with customers. And email is a fantastic way to do that. And when we're sending emails, we ultimately want to be able to use our CRM data, our customer data, to do more things even than sending a standard email. Maybe we want to do email scheduling, so we're sending out certain emails at certain times, maybe even that are contextual to the recipient's time zone. Maybe we want to send out drip campaigns, which allow us to say, okay, someone signed up for through on my website, and now I want to send them a welcome email. And then 2 days later, I want to send them a second email. And then on the next day, I want to send them a third email. You know, you want to be able to standardize that nurturing process, or maybe by just kind of controlling how you're passing information, and again, in a standardized way that you can then track and optimize. And then, of course, you want advanced reporting. You want to know how your emails are doing. You want to know who's opening your emails, what time, what device are they opening their emails on. You want to kind of get the nitty-gritty on what's going on, so again, you can improve maybe what time you're sending out the email, or improving that drip campaign, or just improving an offer that you're sending out. And of course, you want to do much more than that. Now, the problem is that CRMs are ultimately not really that good at doing all this stuff, which is why we've seen an explosion of business software. We've seen CRM kind of be the starting point for software for a lot of businesses, and a lot of processes and a lot of new technology emerging to try to serve those processes, which is why you end up with a marketing technology landscape that looks like this, which is this is real, by the way. I don't recommend trying to count all of the different vendors on this, but if you did, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,500 to 3,800, which is, I mean, pretty insane. In fact, when you look at CRM right here, you can see there's just tons and tons of vendors, and you can see up like in email marketing, again, there's tons of vendors. I believe there's over like 93 or something in this, which is crazy. So this is kind of where you end up when you're trying to find all these different solutions. And of course, the problem, though, is that when you have all these different companies and all these different solutions, it can be really difficult to figure out where you need to start, which vendor will work well, and which software plays well together. And that's really the benefit, I would argue, the strongest benefit of Zoho CRM and Zoho Campaigns is that they're both made by one vendor, which is not very common. In fact, that's why you end up with this, because most companies are only making one product. And on the technical side, when you're talking about getting these different applications to talk to each other, it's really helpful to have both solutions made by the same company, because ultimately they're designed to work together. Zoho CRM has a campaigns module, if you're familiar, if you know your Zoho CRM. The reason why it has that is because initially email marketing was being done in Zoho CRM through that module, but we then realized several years ago that that really needed to be its own app. So we spun it out into Zoho Campaigns, and we made sure that these two things were going to work together. And now both of these applications also are going through major updates. We just announced a major update for Zoho CRM. A major update for Zoho Campaigns is right around the corner as well. If you'd like more information on what's coming and I mean what will soon be released, again, please let me know in the chat. I can add you to a list. I'm going to put together a webinar for that, and I can email you to let you know that I'm doing that, because there's some really exciting stuff coming from Zoho Campaigns as well. So that's just that's the future. But right now, what are we talking about? Like what is Zoho CRM and Zoho Campaigns really offering? It's offering one account to access everything, which is not even really, I don't even think it's really a feature. I would just say it's kind of just convenience, but it really can be extremely convenient if you're used to signing into 8 different applications made by 8 different vendors all the time. It can be kind of a pain, so that one account to access everything is really nice. You're able to sync your CRM leads and contacts to Zoho Campaigns, and this is a standard integration you see with CRMs and email marketing software, basically taking CRM data and moving it to a application, an email marketing application where you can then send emails to them. But you also get something that's really cool, and this is what is really unique, is that you can track email campaign results inside the campaigns module within Zoho CRM. So you basically are getting a two-way integration, and that two-way integration is really special because, again, for most for companies to really be able to do this, you really need to have both of these different pieces of software within the same company, and most just don't have that. So, and I believe there are ways to do that if you're using MailChimp and Constant Contact, but I think you have to then use like another piece of software to build that out, which again kind of causes more complication. And of course, the name of the game these days is, you know, simplicity. We all want things to work, and we all want them to work easily. And lastly, you're able to track campaign results within individual lead and contact views. So I'll show you more about what this means, because this is kind of abstract if you're not super strong on terminology and jargon in the CRM and campaigns world. But basically, you can open a lead. If you had a lead named Sharon, you could look into Sharon's record and see which campaigns have been sent to her. And I'll show you how to do all of that today, okay? So with that, let's go ahead and move into the demo. I'm going to ask you very quickly, is everyone okay with the speed that I'm moving at? Am I going a little too fast? If everything's going well, just raise your hand if you're a happy camper. Okay. All right. And if you have any objections or concerns or critiques, please voice them now in the questions, and I can. Okay. Everyone seems good. Cool. Alrighty. So that's, again, helpful because now we're going to jump over into the software, and that can, if you've never seen it before, you know, software can always be a little daunting at first. So I'll just swipe over, and this is Zoho CRM, and this is Zoho Campaigns. So when you open Zoho Campaigns for the first time, this is what you are going to see. You get this little getting started screen. Now you can get rid of this at any point by just kind of clicking this thing and it'll go away. Your the main way you'll navigate through campaigns is with this top bar up here. So you have a home screen, you have an email campaigns module where you can create and track the content that you're actually creating. Social campaigns, which is the social aspect of Zoho Campaigns. It allows you to post and schedule tweets and post to post to Twitter, post to LinkedIn, and post to Facebook. And then there's also a place to manage a page that you have on Facebook. So there's that. There's the automation section, which is pretty interesting because it allows you to send emails automatically, and there's a few different types that you can do. I'm not going to go too deep into that. If you have a lot of questions about this, please email me, and I'll be happy to talk at length about all this stuff, but we're not going to go too deep into this today. But you do have the ability to send an automatic email after someone signs up, in a series if you want, and you also have this ability to send emails based on a date field. So maybe you have a customer's birthday or all of your customers' birthday. This would allow you to send an email on their birthday. Or maybe you have the date of the first time that they bought something from you, and you want to send them an email a year later to say, hey, you've been a customer for a year and we really appreciate you. You'd be able to do that through there. A closed group autoresponder allows you to take a group of leads or contacts or whatever exactly you want to call them and put them into a group so that they receive a series of emails. So this is really good for lead nurturing. You can send something on day 1, another thing on day 3, another email on day 4, and everyone that gets put into that group will go through that series. There's also the calendar Autoresponder, which allows you to send emails that are based around kind of set calendar days, like holidays or maybe times of year. So let's see, we're in August now, and it was 4th of July, which is the American Independence Day, and that's a promotional holiday. A lot of companies try to take advantage of that. So with that being on the calendar, you'd be able to do that. And then with email action, this actually allows you to send an email, and then depending on the action that the recipient takes with it, whether or not they open it or click a link in it, or maybe they don't open it at all, it allows you to send a second email or a follow-up email to them depending on the action. So those are kind of that's the overview of autoresponders. And again, I'm not going to go too deep into this. If you have questions, please just let me know, and I can be happy to take them up with you later, because it's just a whole other thing if we go into that. And then there is contacts, and contacts is obviously where you're going to manage all of your contacts. There's list management, where you'll manage all of the different mailing lists that you're creating. And then, and this is what we're here to talk about today, there is sync contacts. So this allows you to integrate Zoho CRM with Zoho campaigns, and then build the syncs that bring the data across. Okay? So if you're in this for the first time, or you've not set up your integration, you will not see this screen. You'll see something else. To set up the integration, what you'll need to do, the first thing is go to this link up here, Sync Contacts from Zoho Services. Now, what this is doing here is, if you think about Zoho CRM and Zoho campaigns, think of them as on opposite sides of cliffs with nothing in between, and you need to build a bridge, right? So that way you can pass things across it. So right now there's no bridge, and that's what we're doing in this screen. We're setting up that integration. Now, many times this would require a lot of coding or all sorts of different kind of crazy technical stuff, but luckily you don't have to worry about any of that. You'll just pick your service. So obviously we're trying to integrate with Zoho CRM. You'll pick Zoho CRM, but there are also a few other Zoho product options, but we'll go with Zoho CRM. You'll now need the email address of the administrator of your account, and then you will need a ZSC key, which is a Zoho Service Communication Key. What that is, don't worry about it. It's not important at all. All you need to know is that you need to get one. To do that, you just click this link, this gray link, and it'll take you to Zoho CRM. A key will be generated. You copy and then you paste that key into this field, hit save, and done. Your bridge between Zoho CRM and Zoho campaigns, the integration is now built, and you're on your first step. The first step is done, just that fast. No coding, no nothing like that. So once you do that, now you'll need to start deciding what data you want to bring across from Zoho CRM to Zoho campaigns, right? So what are the business processes? I mean, what is our marketing process? What is our sales process? Depending on the size of your company, just depending on if you have a dedicated sales team, if you have a dedicated marketing team, depending on, who is maybe, for example, who's in charge of lead generation, who's in charge of qualifying leads within your company. All of these factors, the different ways your business works, will determine the way you'll want to set up your syncs and the way that you're actually going to use these two apps. So it's very difficult for me to answer those questions kind of off the top of my head, because usually you need to be thinking about your business processes, right? And that's really something that I can't really give a general rule of thumb for, because ultimately your business is unique and I don't know anything about it. But again, I'm happy to talk to you about it if you want to. Offline. So with that said, for the purposes of this demo, we're going to go ahead and switch over to Zoho CRM in this tab here, and I'm going to find some different leads that I maybe want to bring over. So let's just search real quick, and see the lead source here. So I've got a bunch of leads here from a trade show. And let's see, I've got 1, 2, 3, I've got 5 leads. So let's do trade show leads, all right? So I'll go back over into Zoho campaigns and I will create a new sync. To do that, I will click this button right here, add new sync. And again, this is going to be trade show leads. So now this description is just for my own purpose, for my own knowledge. And I will select a module to sync with, leads or contacts. This is referencing the leads or contacts module over here in Zoho CRM. So I'm back in campaigns. I'll select leads because obviously these are trade show leads. And now I have a few different options. I can select all of my leads, which will literally just bring over all of the leads under the leads module. That might be a good idea for a certain kind of process that we're working with, but it doesn't make sense for trade show leads, obviously. So I'm going to need something more specific. I can choose custom view, and what that means, what that custom view is, going back to CRM, hopefully you know what a view is. If not, it's okay. A view is basically the different ways your leads are displayed, which is up in this drop down here. Now, there are a bunch of standard leads. So, for example, we're looking at all of the leads right now. But if I went to today's leads, it will show me leads that have been added today. Now, I haven't added any leads today, so obviously there's nothing in that view. But I can go up to something that a view that I've created myself, which is leads that have come through a web download. So they've submitted a form and now they've come through. So these are all the leads in the web download. Now, obviously, as you can see, I don't have a trade show view, so I'm not going to be able to use that. But I could create one if I wanted to, and then I could do it, right? But I don't have that right now. But there's also criteria. And now criteria is not going to be available in any of the free plans for Zoho campaigns, but upgrading to any paid plan, you will get this option. And criteria allows you to create your own criteria for your sync. So I want to bring over trade show leads. So obviously that means I'll need to go to lead source is, and just type in trade show. Now I can make this even more specific if I wanted. Say I had just tons of leads that are from trade shows. Say I have like a big company that's always going to trade shows and we're collecting leads from trade shows left and right. Well, maybe I want to add more of a criteria and say lead source is trade show and the city that the lead is from is like San Francisco, right? I could type that in right here, and then it would only pull trade show leads that are from San Francisco. So you can add more and more criteria to keep narrowing it down if you want. For the purpose of this demo, I'm only going to use this one criteria. Now that we know that we are creating this sync called trade show leads, that we're pulling from the leads module with a specific criteria of only leads who have a lead source that is trade show, I need now to add them to a list, right? So I'm pulling all of this data from CRM, but I don't have anywhere to put it right now in campaigns. So I have these different lists that I've already created that I could choose from, but obviously none of these really make sense because they are for different purposes. We have workshop invites, we have monthly newsletters. We need something that's just for our trade show leads. And to do that, we'll just click this plus button and just type in the list, which is trade show leads. And then we're asked whether or not we want to generate a sign-up form to go with this list. Now, a sign-up form is something that you put on your website and allows people to submit like their name and their email, maybe their city or their job, whatever you want to really add to that form, and then you collect it. And the thing is that makes sense for some types of lists that you're creating. But for this list, which is trade show leads, I really don't need a sign-up form, right? Because like if someone signed up, if I put this form on my website and then someone signed up, they're not a trade show lead at all, right? They're just someone that signed up through my website. So that doesn't really make sense. So it's important to think about the context and make sure you're keeping kind of all of your ducks in a row and making sure that everyone is getting kind of funneled into the correct category or they're being tagged with the right information. So we don't need to create a sign-up form, but if we did, you just click allow and then that option is available to you in your list management area. So we'll go ahead and hit save list and hit save and continue. And now we are going to map fields. So basically, as we've said, we're pulling data over from CRM. We need to bring it into campaigns. We always need to know if we're pulling from one area, where are we going to put it now? And so the CRM email field is going to go to the contact email field in campaigns, the first name to first name, last name to last name, and then you can map more fields as desired. For the purpose of this demo, again, I'm going to keep it simple, but you can add a lot more stuff if you want that information in campaigns. And maybe you do. It might make sense to have that. So we'll hit save and continue. And now we're going to set up our kind of fetch details. We're telling the system now what to do, how often to do it, a little more in detail. So the sync frequency, it's a tongue twister for me. We have a few different options. We can choose to fetch the data once, or we can make it a daily, weekly, or monthly sync. Unfortunately, daily is as often as it'll sync, but that's really not that big a deal, and we do recommend syncing as often as possible if you really need an active sync. And I recommend going with daily because it just keeps everything up to date all the time. It's best to also select a sync time that is maybe after work hours or maybe before work hours, so that way you know that when you come into the office you always have up-to-date information, right? And you can choose what time you want that to be. You can then choose a time zone as well. You can also choose when you want to fetch the data, right? So you can say all data now, or you can say after a certain date, so you can kind of build this sync for later if you want. And lastly, you'll need to set up the sync contacts configuration. Now, the very simple rule of thumb, this is actually very simple. Just check all of them. 4 blue squares, that's what you want. Now, what does each of these do? I'll tell you. Update opt-out. So this will update campaigns that are unsubscribed contacts as an opt-out in CRM, right? So if someone opts out of an email, it will update their status in Zoho CRM as an opt-out. Update deleted contacts. So say something has been deleted within Zoho CRM, you'll want to delete or you'll want to remove or unsubscribe them from the list, right? So if the information, if a record is no longer in CRM, you'll want that to be reflected in your campaign email list. Exclude email opt-outs. So this is going to ignore people that are already listed as opt-outs in Zoho CRM, okay? It's pretty much just the backwards one of this, okay? And lastly, exclude converted leads. You'll want to ignore leads that have been converted. So if I'm syncing these trade show leads right now and say somewhere, maybe next week, a salesperson that works for my fictional company actually is starting to do a deal with one of those leads, I don't want to send them the same kind of lead information, right? Like we're past that in our relationship. We're moving into a formal sales process. They don't need to get the nurturing emails anymore. They're ready to go, right? So this will unsubscribe leads that have been converted into contacts automatically, which is really, really helpful. So again, the simple answer, just check all of them, and they won't do you bad, all right? So now we'll go ahead and hit initiate, and just like that, my sync is now active. I can make it inactive by clicking this button. I can delete this sync by clicking here. I can go to my import details, which is, how many contacts have been added. Oops. Just going back here. And I can then also edit the fetch details by going into this screen right here, okay? So the next thing that we want to do is we want to figure out now, we want to configure our sync so now that it goes back to Zoho CRM, right? And that's what I said is really the really cool thing about Zoho CRM and Zoho Campaigns is that you're able to have that two-way sync. So what am I talking about when I'm talking about a two-way sync? I'll flip back to Zoho CRM here, and I'm going to go into this record. So this is Jimmy. He's a lead. And I'm going to show you right here. See this field, campaign history. You can see that Jimmy is a part of the chat lead retargeting campaign. And that campaign was sent to him. And you can see that Jimmy opened this email 3 times. Okay? So that's passing the data back in a field, right? So that's something that's pretty cool. We can also scroll down and see this campaign, right? Where we can see that he was a part of this campaign and that this was the email that he was sent. So we get this as well where we can do it as a module or within the record in its own section here. And then we also have our campaigns module where we are keeping track of our different campaigns. And again, we can go to chat lead retargeting and we can see some of the reports for how these fared. And then see to all of these different leads here and what they got. So this is how all this data looks coming back into Zoho Campaigns, all right? So to set this up, what we'll need to do is go to Zoho Campaigns, and we're going to want to go into our Campaigns to CRM settings. Now, I have these things pretty much set up, except the field is changed, but that's okay. I'll show you. So it'll originally look like this when you move in. All this stuff will be switched out when you set it up for the first time. There will be a little blue box that you'll click to set these things up. There's 2 of them, I believe. And basically, you just need to tell the system what you want to do. So campaigns to CRM settings, I want to create the campaign in Zoho CRM. Enable. I want to update the member status in Zoho CRM. Enable. Now, going back to CRM, what we've done here is we've turned this on right here. Sorry, loading. Okay. Is we've just turned this on. So now that information will appear here. Okay? Now, the next step is pushing the campaign information as a field in Zoho CRM. So we'll want to hit enable. We'll select the modules that we want this to apply to, and then we will select the field. So right now, this is how it looks, and I'll flip back over into Zoho CRM real quick. So when we look in our fields under our leads, we see campaign history has data here, right? When we go to a contact, we go to campaign history and see that there is data here. That is what this is right here. Okay, so you're selecting contacts, leads, and then selecting the field. Same thing for autoresponders. You want to push the data from autoresponders, you'll hit enable, you'll select the modules, and then you'll select the field. Now, here is the one tricky thing, and this is where this is where you need to have access to your CRM to be able to set these things up. To push the data as a field, you need to create a custom field in Zoho CRM, okay? Now, creating a custom field is very easy. I'll show you how to do it right now, okay? And the field that we're creating is going to be this campaign history field right here. And in this lead here, the campaign history field here. Now, as you know from if you're a CRM user, there is no such thing standard as a campaign history field. That does not exist in CRM. This is a custom field. So to create this field, what we'll need to do is go to Setup in the top right. We'll go to Customization and to Modules. So under Customization, we'll go to Modules. And now we have a list of modules. We have our Leads module and our Contacts module. We'll start with Leads. And this will take us to our layout. Now, you'll notice there are a lot of gray fields. All of the gray fields are standard default fields. All of the red fields are custom fields. To create a custom field, there's a whole bunch of different options in CRM to create different fields depending on what you need to do. To receive the information from Zoho campaigns, you have to use a multi-line field for this process. Now to create the field, it's very easy. You just drag it and drop it. You can drop it anywhere you want on your layout depending on what makes sense for you, but I'm going to just put it right there. And I'm going to just create a new field real quick. So let's call it Recent Campaigns. And now I'll hit the blue button, Save Layout, to make my change go into effect. And now the Leads module will have this new field. But we also need this for the Contacts module. So I'll hit this back button, go to Contacts. And again, I get this very similar layout screen, and I just have to do the same thing where I grab this multi-line, add it, and call it Recent Campaigns. And what you'll notice is that I actually already have this here because I've done this demo a bunch of times and I forgot to delete this. So I'll go ahead and just hit Save, and there we go. It's all there now. Okay. So now when I go back to my leads, I can go back to Jimmy's record here, and I have this new field, this new multi-line field. And if I go to Contacts, similarly, no, come on, Internet. Okay, I now also have this new field right here. So I can use these fields to achieve what I'm doing with the campaign history, right? So I'll go back to Zoho Campaigns. I'm going to update this page. And I got to go back into the trade show, leads, edit the fetch details, go back to campaigns to CRM settings. And there are my two fields, right? So it just updated it automatically. It used to be campaign history, now there's recent campaigns, is all there. And I can just hit save, and voila, we'll now be able to push data back to CRM, right? So now we're pretty much done, and we'll have that complete two-way integration, all right? Now, the one thing I should let you know about is there is about a 4-hour or so delay on people taking action and the data showing up, okay? So that's one thing. And also, in this field here, you're only able to keep track of the 5 most recent campaigns that you've sent, okay? So you won't get the complete history that shows up here, okay? And that's actually why I started calling this recent campaigns, to not confuse people. I should probably just get rid of this field altogether. But basically, you'll see the 5 most recent campaigns, which is really great. It's very, very helpful. And lastly, again, another very important thing, you are not able to see which mailing list your leads and contacts are a part of, okay? You'll only be able to see which campaigns they've been sent, right? And that's a good distinction to make, because these are campaigns right here. All of these, June newsletter final, June newsletter final. We sent that one twice for some reason. the consent campaign, the June newsletter, the chat lead retargeting. These are campaigns. And then when we go into lists, these are different lists, right? So you won't see the lists in Zoho CRM, but you will see the campaigns, okay? So that pretty much wraps up this demo. And that's pretty much all I have for you. We have plenty of time for questions, and I'm sure you probably have some. So let's go ahead and see what is going on here. Yeah, so Wendy actually asks a good question. So how does the drop down in campaigns auto populate essentially? Like, does it just know that the multi-line is there? Yeah. So it knows it's there because CRM and campaigns are integrated now, right? The applications are talking to each other. They're passing basic kind of framework through it. And the reason you can't use the single line is because you're going to add a bunch of information and the single line's not going to work. So when campaigns is detecting that you have custom multi-lines, it knows it's there and it knows you can use these now because that's the way the system is built. So, okay, Arturo is asking a question. Recent campaign fields need to be created for us in order to have this info following up. All right, so the question is, you have to create these fields in your CRM. If you want to, you'll be able to, I'm going to switch back to campaigns real quick. If you want to view your reports on what's going on in Zoho campaigns, you have a whole reporting module. So you can view all sorts of reports from within campaigns. And if you want to view some of those basic reports in CRM, you have that option too, right? Now, if you want, and this is where the fields matter, is that if you want data to show up in a field, you'll need those custom fields. But you don't have to create the custom fields to get the reporting in campaigns. That's standard. And to get the reporting in Zoho CRM, I'll go back to the sync here. All you have to do to get that basic reporting showing up in the campaigns module within Zoho CRM and in the little campaign section on the record, you just switch these two things over. So you can get reports in Zoho CRM without putting them in a field if you want, okay? So what is the difference between contacts and leads? So in a CRM system, these two things do have different meanings. They are different things. Leads are essentially prospects. They are raw information that you are gathering about someone who could be interested in your service or your products, okay? A contact is a converted lead because there is a business opportunity or a potential to do business. So for example, I'll go to one of these leads and say that I've talked to Elizabeth, I've qualified Elizabeth in my sales process, and I know that she is someone that I could actually sell to. I'll hit convert. I can create a new potential and say, all right, we're working on this like $5,000 deal. The closing date is this date. We're in the value proposition stage, and she is the decision maker. We know this information. We'll convert her. I'm sorry. And now she's going to be a contact. It's going to just take a second for it to update. But Elizabeth is now a contact right here, and her potential, the deal that I'm working on right now, is this one here. So basically, a lead are the people that we're trying to talk to, try to get more information from, trying to qualify, so that way we can actually create a deal and start working on that deal and enter the formal sales process. Recent and history is the right way to ask. If that's I'm not sure if that's a question. You can call it whatever you want. I think recent campaigns might be the best one, but whatever makes sense for your business. Yes, Wendy asks a good question. You can send, we can send campaigns to contacts, not just leads. Absolutely. You can choose leads or contacts. And you'll want to put those people into different lists when you're bringing that data over, so that way you're keeping them separate. I think, and that's important. But you can absolutely do that. I believe you can see when we set up that sync, you could choose the initial thing when we were just naming our sync. Right, I'll add a new one right here. We could say this is the new Wendy's sync right here, and we can select leads or contacts. So absolutely, and that's where you make that distinction right there. All right. Okay, so okay, one more question, I think. So Wendy's asking about autoresponders. So what's the best autoresponder to use for a typical automatic drip campaign where we're adding names to a list? Probably the closed group, because the closed group is something that you can basically set up a flow for. So you add them to the list, and now they're going to get that first email, and now they'll get the second email whenever you've set that up. And once they're done with the series, you can then automatically add them using the workflow in here to automatically add them to a new list. So that way you can start following up with them in a different way or something. So the closed group is probably the best way. So sign up, so she's asking, is that closed group or sign up? So let me move this down. So sign up is basically, this is really helpful for a sign up form. So say you have a sign up form on your website, they sign up and now they immediately start, going, right? The closed group, I think, is better for just straight lead nurturing. So say you've uploaded a bunch of leads into your CRM, and now you're syncing them over to campaigns, and now you're moving through a lead nurturing series. I think that probably makes more sense, because there are web forms within CRM that are collecting leads for you. And this, again, it really just depends on how you've set these different things up. You do want to have all of your data in your CRM. The lead nurturing, really getting into the marketing automation side of things. Right now, Campaigns is not very good at marketing automation, but the big update that's coming, which I mentioned earlier, and I can give you information about as soon as I have it, if you just let me know that you need it, that big update is going to shift Campaigns into some new marketing automation territory where you'll be able to do a lot more things. So currently, I don't think it's really that good at it right now, which is the same for like MailChimp and like Constant Contact. They're not really designed to do that kind of heavy-duty automation stuff. But Campaigns is looking to start taking that on in its new update. But I don't really have much information on that at the moment. But if you'd like to know when I know, just let me know, and then I'll let you know, and I'll just keep saying the word no, Okay, that was unnecessary. All right. Very good question Arturo has about CRM Plus. Does it make a difference for using CRM? Um, when we are talking about CRM Plus, as you can see, both of these, the CRM account and Zoho campaigns, are both a part of CRM Plus. What is CRM Plus, you may ask? CRM Plus is Zoho's first bundle, which is bundling 8 different applications together, and these are the different applications. So you get CRM, support, which is like a help desk software. Survey allows you to do surveys, projects, project management. Sales IQ, which is a very, very cool application. It's one of the coolest things we make, I think, which is a website engagement platform. If you are interested in what on earth that means, let me know in the chat and I can follow up with you. It's a very, very nifty app. It allows you to chat with your with your website visitors, but then also if you're a CRM user, you can create leads automatically. If that visitor comes back to your website, you'll know that. You get some basic kind of tracking abilities, which are very nifty, some good analytics stuff. It's a very, very cool application, and it's a huge value add to Zoho CRM. I really believe that. So if you're interested in that, let me know, and I can tell you about that. There's Zoho Social, which is social media marketing. So it allows you to post things to Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn. It helps you manage your brand on social. And then reporting, so you get some reports abilities. Now, all of these things are packaged together for, I believe, $50 per user per month. Zoho campaigns, because the way it's priced is priced by the amount of emails you're sending, so there is a limit on the amount of emails you can send through CRM Plus. Depending on the volume, it might make sense. Generally, I recommend people to look at Zoho CRM Plus if they're using 3 or more Zoho apps. So if you're using CRM, if you're using campaigns, and you're sending out a volume that's appropriate for CRM Plus, and maybe you use Sales IQ, or maybe you use Survey, or you use Support or Projects, you might find that you can save yourself a lot of money by switching to this. Now, that's not always the case because of the way that the licensing works on different apps. But if you are using 3 or more, I recommend looking at it. If you're planning on adding more software to your business, I recommend looking at it because honestly, this is the best deal on the market for all of these applications. No one has anything that is remotely as competitive as this, and I'm not even the sales guy. So honestly, I'll tell you straight, sometimes it doesn't make sense, but for the people who it does make sense for, it's a really good deal. All right, so check it out if it makes sense to you. Thanks for bringing that up, Arturo. Okay. Someone's asking how much is Sales IQ. I told you, Robert, I'm not the sales guy, right? But I believe that there's a free edition of Sales IQ. Then there's also, I think, $20, $59, and I think $129. And those plans obviously are adding value as you go to the more expensive ones. All of Zoho has is free to try. So every product that I've mentioned has a free version. If you're interested in the product, the very best thing that you can do, rather than even listen to me talk about it, is just sign up for it, and just check it out. Just read the web page, or don't read the web page. Just sign up, check it out, see how it works. If you like it, if you have more questions, you can definitely follow up with me. There's also a webinar that we do. And that is done by my colleague Ambi, and he can take you all through that. He's the super expert. How long is the free version? Again, I'm not exactly sure. I think it might be 30 days. Yeah. Again, guys, I'm not the sales guy. I just show you the products and I help you as much as I can and answer all your questions as best I can. Okay. So with that said, now that we've skewed into some kind of weird Sales IQ portion of this, become the sales guy. Okay, thank you, Robert. I'll take that to heart. All right, so with that said, I really appreciate it. I hope you have enjoyed this webinar. If you have any further questions, please write to me, taylor@zohocorp.com. If you have any super technical campaign questions, please write to our wonderful support team, support@zohocampaigns.com. And for everyone that asked me to follow up with them, everyone that wanted follow-up information, I will do that within the next 24 hours. Okay, so you'll definitely hear from me. I'll get you all the information you need. If you have other questions that are a little more in-depth, as I recommended, waiting to take these offline, again, please feel free to email me. It's not that I don't want to talk to you. It's just that I want to just make sure that I'm giving you good information and that I'm making the best use of your time and mine as well. So with that, thank you very much. If you enjoyed the webinar and you're on Twitter, feel free to tweet #Zoho Campaigns. Alrighty, thank you very much. Thank you, and you're very welcome for all the questions and all that. Again, it's very great to have you here. But I'm signing off now because we are over the hour. Email me, I'll email you, we'll keep in contact. If you haven't seen the getting started and you're interested just in the core functionality of Zoho Campaigns, check that out. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.